Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech, protected.
Welcome back to Midnight Media. Tonight, we're talking about a classic film, City of Lost Children.
Yeah, it's a strange one for sure. It's definitely a cult classic. Came out in 1995.
French.
It is French.
Extremely.
Yeah, I was actually really impressed with. I can't remember the actor's name.
Judith Vitette.
No. Well, her, yes, the one who played
Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman. Thank you. Yeah. No, because he speaks French through the entire film.
All eight and a half lines.
When it first started, me and him were gonna make a bet, and I was like, count how many lines Ron Perlman has, because I don't know if he actually can speak French. But then eventually he starts having full lines. Yeah. I wonder
really
if
impressive.
he speaks it. I wonder if he knows French.
I would
Did
say
he know what he was saying?
it was probably, in my opinion, Ron Perlman's best role. I just think I love him in Hellboy, don't get me wrong, but I think he really killed it in this one.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
It was a...
I think so, yeah. But I just want to say, to start us off, we'll go with a synopsis of the film. Basically, it takes place in a fictionalized version of France, and it is about a group of misfits who were created by this kind of mad scientist type that we don't know who he is or anything about him at the beginning. And they live on this strange, almost like an oil rig off of...
Exactly like
Yeah, in like the middle of the ocean somewhere, surrounded by a minefield.
Or it could have been one of those World War II defensive nests that they built in the channel between England and mainland Europe.
Sure. But I'm pretty sure it's supposed to take place
call it an oil rig.
in a fictionalized version of France.
Well,
but it's also, the mines made me think of one of those. It's all sea mined, not land mined.
But anyways, so these misfits live on this oil rig type place in the middle of the ocean, and they hire this cult of people to kidnap children for them. Because one of the misfits, the leader, he can't dream, and it's making him age so rapidly. So he has this device where he tries to steal children's dreams in order to use them for his own benefit, and I believe it ends up killing the children, right?
That's a good question.
Actually, I don't know.
I never saw any children die.
They kind of just get rid of them after, because he'll try to have their dream. It will be a nightmare.
And it's a nightmare.
And then they just take.
He dies from it at the end. So I was under the impression that that's what happens to the children.
There's the scene in the beginning. I don't think the kids die.
Oh, spoilers, by the way.
Well, yeah, big spoiler there.
Because you're going to spend $6 to watch a 1995 French film.
It's a cult classic, man.
It was very
I know
visually
who watches
great.
this show.
I don't know if it kills the kids. I think they just get tired of them when it doesn't work and get rid of them. I don't know.
I don't think that was addressed.
I'm pretty positive that it does kill the kids, but I don't know if it actually was
Producer fact check
addressed one way or the other. But just because of what happens to the lead antagonist at the end of the film leads me to believe that. Anyways,
it's not good.
So
what he's doing.
That's the setup for the antagonist.
It's not nice. It's not nice.
Whether the children live or not, it's not nice.
That's the setup for the antagonist in the film, and for the protagonist, it is a small child and Ron Perlman's character, one. And Jayson, if you want to take it from here.
The small child is named Miette, played by Judith Vitette. Vitette. She does an excellent job.
She does. She's not in showbiz anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, she only did, I'm going to say one more film after this, and maybe one before.
I went to her on Instagram. She does weird art stuff now.
Yeah.
Sorry to call your art stuff weird, Vivette.
She's French.
I don't know. I'd say that pretty wraps up the synopsis if you want to really dig into it. I don't know.
No,
If this
okay,
were the back
so
of a book.
Ron Perlman is a strong man in a kind of carnival.
Okay,
street
but
carnival.
now we're just saying what happens.
He's a protector of children. He kind of adopts this role. There's a young boy who he calls his little brother,
Yes.
who gets kidnapped by the people who take kids and sell them or trade them, whatever, to the freaks he
The
was talking
one-eyed
about.
Nazi people.
The Cyclopses.
The
Yes,
story
the
of the film
Cyclopses.
is Ron Perlman and Miette
Trying to get his brother back.
trying to get who he calls his little brother.
Yeah, it's not
'cause
actually.
Ron Perlman's character
Or is
is sort of reminiscent of the big lug character from
Boo
Mice
Radley.
and Men. He's a gentle giant.
Did you read of Vice and Men?
I let go. You let go. You let go.
You sure how that one?
Yeah,
You sure about that?
Okay.
You sure about
a little
that?
different in that, one respect, but
The one hinge of that story, respect. Yeah. No, he's like maybe a little slow. Maybe he doesn't
he's a gentle giant.
talk that much.
Yeah.
He relates to children because maybe mentally he's kind of like one.
They
so,
address that in the film.
Yeah.
He may be big, but he's not an adult.
Right, because the kids all have like prejudice against adults because adults just abuse them and treat them like crap and use them all the time.
Yeah.
Because they're owned by this lady called the Octopus.
This is
Some sort of
yeah.
a conjoined twin. They're like attached to the hip.
Yeah, so she has 8 limbs. Yeah.
Yeah, she's 8 limbs, not 8 feet, but I'll have to give it a pass.
The 2 middle legs are fused. It's
Yeah,
weird.
so it's more like
Yeah.
7 limbs. Anyway, she sends them out thieving around town, and they have to come and bring her money.
She's supposed to be like their teacher / orphanage caretaker.
Yeah, like an orphanage or something.
But instead, she runs a racket of pickpockets, which is
Which, I mean, if I had a bunch of random kids.
Yeah. Well, what I really one aspect that I thought was interesting was the cult of these people who remove their own eyes or blind themselves, and then they use these devices to kind of give themselves like mechanical vision. So they
Yeah.
see like you get this green filter over it. It looks like kind
They
of like
used
Terminator vision, but or something.
a lot of
have super
Nazi
hearing.
imagery when they had
Yeah, lots
those
of
guys.
Nazi.
That scene where they were all in the hall, and one
Yeah,
of them is
yeah.
like professing to the others.
Well,
Don't
what I
they
was
say something about being the master race?
They dropped something like
What
that.
I was gonna say though is I felt a little unclear on the cult's role though. Other than they kidnap children, yeah, but
I
in
was
the
hoping you knew.
overall,
Yeah, I was really hoping.
well, it was strange because it felt like they were such a major part of the story, it's such a
Until they
major
weren't.
antagonist, but then they kind of are never explained how they fit into everything. You
Yeah,
know?
I was hoping you had insight because I was like, they're hired by the
Yep.
who are the misfits in the oil rig are clones of one person. So
Some of them, not the woman.
Yes,
Right,
the
right.
woman, all of them.
not the there's
The woman?
Yep, the woman, and the old one, and the sleepy ones. They're all clones of the guy that lives underwater.
She was not a clone of him.
She certainly was. They tell the story of it. The brain tells the story.
I think she was supposed to be.
She was supposed to be his wife, but she ended up just knee-high to a grasshopper.
Yeah.
How would he
She's
clone
him, but a
himself into
female.
a female?
Change his chromos, dude.
Oh yeah, okay, I guess that makes sense.
Swappies,
Jesus.
bruh. Swappies.
Well,
even
again,
clone,
it was
bro?
a
Do you even clone, dude?
it was French and it was a little confusing.
That was-
oh,
yeah.
Another point I did want to make. So the entire movie, I kept saying this reminds me so much of another French film, Delicatessen. I'm like, it has several of the same actors, and just the cinematography, all of it. And then at the end, it's like, oh, made by the same director as Delicatessen.
Who
So-
was the director? We gotta get better at this stuff. This should have been my job for the intro.
Yeah, but
Jamie?
So collectively, we have to get better.
yeah.
Who was it?
I don't know. It was a French name, and I'm not going to be the one who tries to pronounce it.
So nothing our audience would know anyway.
Yeah. But it was very interesting.
I've never seen Delicatessen for the record, so I don't know.
Oh, it's great. Jason, have you seen Delicatessen? So Delicatessen was a great film. This is funny because this film felt a little post-apocalyptic to me.
Yes, it definitely did.
And I don't think it's ever clarified that it is, but it just the way that everything was shot, the cinematography, everything constantly looks wet. Did you notice that?
It's like a dirty city type polluted,
but specifically wet
and very damp,
Yes.
like London, kind of giving that vibe.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be Paris. I think.
It had this very like
something.
19th century
Yes.
vibe, but with like a bunch of anachronistic
like
technology and whatnot.
degraded Victorian kind of,
Yeah,
steampunky, a lot of steampunky type stuff.
and that practical, like with the practical effects, but the amount of work that must have taken to just make every single set
Dude,
look
the sets
damp.
were really cool
Yeah,
too.
it was
Yeah.
incredible to me because I was like, this looks like the most disgusting place to live.
Tons of detail.
And that,
I thought they just filmed France.
well, that was very similar to the way Delicatessen was shot. It wasn't as like damp, but it was shot to look very gross. You know, it was a post-apocalyptic world where there was like food shortage. And so the whole point of the story of Delicatessen is that this guy starts basically he runs a like a mini hotel, and he starts cutting up the people who come to stay and
Soylent
serving
Green.
them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it's also kind of a comedy, so it's a very interesting movie, and it's the same kind of weird apocalyptic feel, but never totally explained.
Right.
Yeah, this French director.
Yeah, who wants to try it?
Me.
Marc Caro and Jean-Pierre Jeunet.
You nailed it, buddy. Marc Caro, Jean-Pierre Jeunet.
Jean-Pierre Jeunet. Jeunet?
Yeah.
Jean-Pierre Jeunet?
Yep.
That sounds about
Which
right.
one did Delicatessen? Was it both of them as a group?
I don't know. It just said from the makers of Delicatessen, so I'm guessing maybe both of them. Maybe they're a filmmaking duo like the people who made The Endless. I don't think they're brothers, but you know those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so film had an extremely interesting setting to it. It had great cinematography, great practical effects, a lot of great matte paintings, and
The matte paintings, that was one of the first things I pointed out.
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought. I'll say this as a negative. When the film first starts, the first like 2 minutes of the film, when they're dreaming, the child's dreaming about the Santas, and then the dude starts screaming, and then the child starts screaming. I was totally put off when I was watching, and I've seen this movie before.
Oh!
Yeah. I
was put on. That was terrifying.
Yeah.
Well,
I had dreams like that as a kid.
from
If I can just interject, that kid screaming at all the Santas, you know that they actually just scared the bejesus out of him to get that reaction.
Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
they scared
That
multiple
poor-
kids.
Those poor freaking kids.
Dude,
Yeah.
so many of
It's
them.
the 90s.
Well, they do
we
it
can
again in the
this.
movie. You remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do it twice. They
Yeah.
scared tons of kids.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't acting. Those kids, they
Yeah.
were terrified.
Yeah. So, anyways, the first 2 minutes really put me off because I just didn't like the way it was shot. It felt really like corny almost. But then after you, pretty much the moment that the circus guy with the strong man shows up, that's another thing they never explain. Who stabbed the strong man's boss at the very beginning? He gets stabbed in the
Yeah,
gut.
he gets stabbed.
They do never touch on that. I assumed someone who either he owed money to or just a local crook or something.
Yeah.
Is that
Not necessarily
is
a
it
plot hole. It just
the eye
was weird.
people?
No.
Because they then
No,
take little
he
brother.
says
whatever
there's
his
a
name is.
line he says before he does it. The guy that ends up stabbing him that kind of hints at something, and I can't remember what it was. Very subtle.
I
And
think-
then the language barrier, also having to read the subtitles.
Yeah. So
And-
maybe it was lost in translation, but it definitely felt strange that it was.
Because you know subtitles aren't directly translated from
No,
what
no,
they
I
actually say.
understand.
So it's messed up sometimes.
Yeah. But
Oh, because there's that one scene where you're like, did he say merd?
Yeah,
And I was like,
exactly.
he definitely did, but the subtitles did not say SHIT. So
Yeah.
this is not directly translated.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. So I will say that the practical sets and all the cinematography was really fantastic after that opening scene, and I thought the design of the Dream Machine was really awesome.
Yes, there was a lot of like these Rube Goldberg-esque
Yeah.
type machines that were really cool and really well designed.
Reminded me of like the Magic Crystal, the Skeksis
yeah.
machines that they were using in that series.
Yep.
That was
I
cool.
thought it was really funny that they managed to make a brain in a jar a compelling character. You know? you felt for his plight that he was like the only good one of all the. I mean the trip, I don't know, what were they like? There was like 6 of them or something.
There were 6, yeah.
Yeah. Those guys were not. I mean, they try to make them out like they're not bad, but then they're the one buying children. So
they're just doing what Kronk says.
Yeah.
I mean,
they seem like they don't really have full free will.
Yeah.
Like they're kind of like so stupid, then like he just owns them basically. In the female too, who's dwarven or just shrunken.
Yeah.
But the actor or the character?
The character.
The character was the cloning process went wrong. So
Yeah.
she, as they say, came out knee-high to a grasshopper, and that was apparently bad because the guy was trying to make a wife.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, I'd say the movie, and this is really ironic, was like a fever dream, right? That's what it reminded me of.
Why is that ironic?
Because the movie's about dreams.
Oh, that's not ironic.
That is ironic. Absolutely. The movie's about dreams and it reminds you of a dream.
That sounds like the opposite of irony. Vote in the poll to tell Joshua he is wrong.
Anyways, you know, and it's funny because I'll bring up Delicatessen again. That's the same exact feeling I got watching Delicatessen. I will say that I liked Delicatessen, I think, a little bit more, just because it had less. There's no children in Delicatessen, and not that the kids.
And I hate
I don't like children or women, partner.
Listen, in the film industry, there's a couple of rules, and one of them is
No
never
women, no children.
never work with children or animals because it's a nightmare.
Jesus, what are you saying about women?
I didn't say anything about women. That was you.
Oh, it was easy.
Anyway, let's steer
It's
this
easy
back
to get
onto the
that
tracks
from.
here. Well, yeah, maybe we'll have to check out Delicatessen. It sounds
Oh
interesting.
yeah, absolutely.
I like this film a lot. I did find it a little difficult to follow. Could have been part of the language barrier. Also, the fact that it's like
Just
it's
hard
filmed
to follow.
to be like a fever dream on purpose. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like a
yeah.
very visually intense, kind of dialogue minimal in a lot of parts of it. Like Ron Perlman doesn't really have too many lines until more than halfway through the movie. He kind of just says one line at a time. I thought that intro sequence was filmed in that way to give you the impression that you're seeing it through the eyes of a child, how it's kind of filmed wonky and looking up at the guys and
Oh,
really,
absolutely.
almost fish-eyed,
Yeah.
meant to just emphasize how freaky that is to the kid.
Personally, I guess for me, why it annoyed me is because I don't know about you guys, but even when I was a child, my dreams, my nightmares were very adult. You know, my nightmares were terrifying. I didn't have nightmares about Santa. Like, that never happened to me.
I mean, I think that would be scarier than most of the things I dream now.
I don't really wanna do the work today. I don't wanna do the work today.
Didn't your mom have you drink a witch's potion or something when you were like 2, though?
Well, yeah, but she also made me literally go to sleep listening to Kafka when I was 6.
That
That's
explains
fine.
so much.
Have you ever fallen asleep to the Metamorphosis?
I mean, yes, but I was actually reading it because I know how to read.
Were you 6?
No, I was 7.
My mom had an interesting.
I definitely had weird dreams like that, though, where a seemingly friendly thing starts either multiplying or growing or something, and all of a sudden it's either gonna crush you or eat you or something,
Sure.
and it's no longer the friendly thing you thought it was.
So maybe it's more.
Kind of reminds me of sleep paralysis.
Well, sleep paralysis is terrifying. So maybe it's a more personal thing, you know? Like maybe just me specifically. I didn't relate to those kind of dreams. Sounds like you guys did.
No, I did. I got it.
Remember this one time?
At band camp.
No, you can't say that, Josh. It's 2023. No, I got really scared of my fan. I thought it was a monster coming to get me because I had sleep paralysis.
Or was it one of those times you took a lot of Benadryl and the fan
Whoa,
turned into a...
whoa. I was 6.
No, but yeah, I think it was a great film. It definitely had some strange parts. I don't know if that's foreignness or
Well-
like...
So why is it when what was it, Marcello, I think, came up on the boat and he rescued one. One and Miette were both covered in rope, and one jumps in the boat. And they're like, well, I
Perlman's
guess we
character is
can't help
one.
Miette.
They told her to jump. They said jump into the boat, and she fell.
Okay, but she's not going to immediately sink. Like, I don't understand why they couldn't. Like, oh, darn, I guess she's gone. She fell in the water.
One was still covered in ropes, so he couldn't get her, and
Marcello can't swim or reach over the
he
end of the
actually
boat.
says something about it in the bar. He said, I didn't go get you, or I didn't get her because... I think he just says he didn't want to get wet or something. It was something like really stupid.
I don't recall that.
I know. He says he's sorry, but does he say he can't swim or something?
Maybe that's what it was.
He does make an excuse as to why he didn't go for her.
The other thing that I found to be, it was dreamlike for sure, but it was very confusing, was so later in the story, Miette meets, when she does fall into the water, she meets the mad scientist
William
who
H.
created all of the misfits. Sorry, what'd you say?
I said William H. Macy.
Oh, yeah.
I made up a list of people that I think should play everyone. Marcello should have been Nathan Lane. I think it would have been good.
So she falls into the water, and she's rescued by the mad scientist, who actually looks like one of the 6 clone guys.
Because he's the original.
Because he's
Dun,
the
dun,
original.
dun.
But he's lost his memory. So, anyways, that guy.
He's lost his memory?
Yeah.
He says, I.
That's why he just swims around collecting random crap that sinks down in the water.
Oh, that makes sense. All right.
So later on in the film, he gets his memory back. I won't go into detail how.
I wouldn't mind knowing. If
When
you
the
can make it
dream
quick.
canister.
Oh, yeah,
opens
yeah.
and-
Oh, and the green stuff?
The animate fart swims around
Yes,
through the city,
alright.
giving all the
But
children
what was
nightmares.
confusing is that he gets his memory back, and then he heads to go destroy all the misfits and the giant oil rig, and he puts dynamite everywhere, then climbs up on the oil rig and attaches himself to it and starts screaming like a banshee, and then all of a sudden he's like, wait, what am I doing here? This was a terrible idea. And I was like, what, was he in a trance? Like,
I was
what was
wondering
going
about that
on?
as well. Did he get hit with the ticks? I feel like we
No.
should have mentioned the ticks.
I don't think he did get hit with the ticks.
And we haven't spoken about the octopus. I mean, we have, but not
Well,
because the octopus
Marcello was
gets the ticks from Marcello.
Yeah, I think he was my favorite character.
Oh,
He
the
was the
fleas.
bad
You
guy
keep
in
saying
Delicatessen.
ticks.
Oh, they were fleas.
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 Yeah,
I was
okay.
like, what the
Thank you.
hell are they talking about ticks?
Marcello was the bad guy in Delicatessen, and the dude who is the original and has a bunch of clones of him, he was the protagonist in Delicatessen. Which is, and again, I was like, there's so many characters. So anyways, Marcello has these fleas that were part of his flea circus,
Right.
and that he puts this poison into them, and then they...
And he does this for the octopus.
Yes. You guys want to explain how that happens?
I don't know that I can. I know that the fleas. So eventually, the fleas get on the Cyclops people, and
Yep.
he like kills some of his buddies.
Well, this is how Marcello rescues One and Miette. He puts his fleas out with the poison so that they jump onto the Nazi guys with the mechanical eyes, and then the Nazi guy gets really sadistic, which is weird because most of the other ones, they just kind of like, they're in a trance and they kill someone, but the Nazi guy like rips out his friend's eyes and then stabs them with knives in the open socket.
The second guy, he plugs his own eye into them,
And he
so he can
watches himself die.
get murdered.
Like,
that was really cool.
weirdly
was neat.
sadistic. Yeah.
I thought the stuff just made the guy go crazy, but then I mean,
thought
like
it
super
allowed the
nuts. I don't
octopus to control people.
The octopus?
When then they use it again after the octopus double crosses Marcello, right?
Yeah.
And they like almost kill him or something. And then they get the fleas and use them against Ron Perlman. And it injects him, and he goes
Oh, right, because Ron Perlman goes
limp.
ham on.
Or no, he starts
on
beating
the
the
end.
crap out of her and choking her to death. So I think the fleas just make people get violently crazy and assault your friends, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't think we can do it justice in a half hour.
And then the octopus gets infected, and she attacks herself, which is funny. And then she runs and jumps off the pier, and they set the water on fire, so she burns to death. There's a lot of really bizarre imagery and scenes in the film. It's very dreamlike, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, and I wouldn't even say it's hard to follow. I think it's just structurally, it's not that it's hard to follow. I think it's just honestly the way it was shot is so bizarre. There's such there's hard to follow like David Lynch, where the story is like non-linear and all over the place, and then there's hard to follow like this, which is it's so much strange imagery and just bizarre stuff that you're staring at that it's like overwhelms your senses. You know what I mean?
I concur. Let's do ratings.
Yeah, left to right.
Right to left.
Okay.
You really took the helm on this one, Josh. I'll let you start us out.
Okay. I would give this film an 8.0. I think it's a solid film. I think it's a cult classic for a reason, but it's extremely French.
6.8 for the same reasons.
Just gonna go probably an 8 as well. Probably right in that realm.
All right.
7.5 to 8. It's good. There's some things that are maybe lost in translation or a little too artsy to like that are, barrier to entry.
I can see if you watched it a bunch like as a kid,
Yeah.
it would be really interesting.
Absolutely.
I didn't notice that,
But visually
very compelling.
really cool.
Yeah.
All right, and that was Midnight Media.
Signing off.
See you next time.